Hell
Hello.
yeah.
Hell yeah. Hello. And welcome back to 40,000 Layers.
That was either perfectly or horrifically timed.
That was very oddly timed.
I thought I'd just get in a hell yeah before you started the recording. I
Yeah,
did.
no, apparently not.
Yeah, no. Right as you, like, just over your intro back in. There you go.
It's fine. I've not got lots of base colours to paint. And then I can, well, there's still actually quite a lot to paint, honestly. I'm trying my best.
Mm.
Right. It's kind of difficult with this, you know how it says like 360 view? It isn't.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a nightmare. So I get a bit annoyed by that.
So we just finished talking about like homunculi and stuff.
Yep. Very briefly touching on like the
Yeah,
minions, I suppose.
yeah. So some of the forces and everything. So I just want to see where this leads because we're about to talk about the Archons and a couple of characters who are interesting. Because we were like, hey, before we started the recording, we were like, hey, should we go down the more like the Cabals and the Cabalite warriors and the homunculi maybe, or should we talk about the Archons and a few of the like named characters? I think we both enjoy when we talk about very specific like events and
Specific people, and then we can like make jokes.
Always fun, yeah. So let's see how this goes. So an Archon is essentially like the leader of a Drukhari cabal.
Okay.
Okay, good.
No, I'm like, I know what a cabal is.
Okay,
Like,
okay,
Archon
good,
is the
good.
leader. Like,
yeah, I was like,
know what Drukhari is.
If we immediately, I was wondering if we were immediately going to go into what's a cabal. And
I was
okay,
tempted for the jokes, but
so essentially, the Archons are like the lords, the leaders of Commorragh, their own like specific cabals, but they also have a lot of influence just in general in the Drukhari.
Yeah.
And like they you know, like the raid that we talked about was headed by an Archon.
Yeah.
So like all of those slaves taken is like great for the Cabal and great for the Archon. Usually they're not just there because they're strong. It's also because they've managed to get through all the political intrigue and backstabbing and all of the crazy you know,
risk
intricacies of being a Dark Eldar.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it the game of politics in Commorragh is this is something I just saw now. This wasn't part of my research. It's called Thilian I Calethril, also known as the Path of Shards, which is essentially like, well, you're just walking over shards and getting stabbed and stuff. Like,
politics.
Yeah, politics. So not only are they strong and powerful fighters, they're also very intelligent, very shrewd. Like, because all Dark Eldar are, well, not all of them, because you know, some of them are twisted.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Some of them are like twisted monstrosities, and some of them are, you know, like weird homunculi flesh twisters.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, like Dark Eldar are more intelligent than the average person. They're more, you know, more learned. They're more everything, really. Much like elves and humans, kind of same deal. So an Archon is someone who is just a genius of strategy and deception and tricks and traps and all of these things, as well as being really, you know, strong enough to back that up. And obviously, because they want to get to the top, they are arrogant and conceited and a megalomaniac and, you know, like, I'm the best, I'm so amazing, yada yada, all this type of thing. At the same time, they do have to, you know, be constantly on guard for all the people below them who they've, you know, managed to keep one up over, try to assassinate them and, like, you know, start a coup, start a, you know, not an uprising exactly, but essentially like betrayal. And that's just in their own forces. Like, they also have all of the other Archons who want to kill them or want to steal what's theirs or anything. So, you know, something as simple as like going to a meeting is like
Risky.
the most dangerous thing in existence for them, where they're like, anyone could betray me. You know, if I let my guard slip for a second, then I'm dead. So they also have a tendency to be pretty good at spotting traps and, you know, essentially seeing what people are doing and try to figure out what their goal is and hidden meanings and all that kind of stuff.
Put a lot of experience points into perception, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of instances, like, you know what Vex did, the story I told you of Vex, kind of like, hey, bring this up, like,
Yeah.
there are a lot of instances where something like that happens and the Archons are like, an Archon will be like, oh, I see what you're doing here, and then turn it on them.
Yeah.
Doesn't always happen, and currently Vect is one of those, like, at the pinnacle of his game, essentially. To give you an idea of how ridiculous it is, like, people compare Archons of the Drukhari to Tzeentch.
Oh.
In terms
I
of,
mean,
like,
with all that planning for the raid, I get it.
yeah. So yeah, they
bit more proactive.
So some of the Archons who still exist, like in the current day 40k, have been there since before the Aeldari fall, you know, before Slaanesh was birthed. So
they're in the clubhouse.
Yeah, they have a tendency to be a little bit I want to say holier than thou, but it's not quite right.
Unholier than thou?
Yeah, unholier than thou. Yeah, they're kind of like, they look at some of the
newbies,
some of the newer Drukhari and etc. as just like idiots running around like headless chickens, just, you know. So
I'm sure that goes down swell.
Yeah. There are especially with the elder Archons, the older ones, they'll sometimes be like in their own cabal. If there's like a whole load of squabbling and infighting, they'll literally like punish everyone, including themselves, so everyone is bad, worse off than when they started.
Oh, so it's like this doesn't resolve anything.
Yeah, they don't resolve. They'll just be like spiteful and just be like, ah, fuck it, like, all of you, including myself, we're all gonna be worse off for a while.
Teachers are like, the whole class gets detention. Like, dude, that means you get detention.
Yeah. The problem that invites, especially the age, is like, you know, if you what's a good example? If you smoke weed every day for 10,000 years, you're gonna build up an immunity. You know, it's the same with the older Drukhari. Like, if you like stick a pin in someone's leg every day for a century, like, that's gonna lose its
sting.
Yeah, and it's gonna lose the enjoyment you get from it, as a Drukhari, of course.
Yes.
So it gets to the point where they need like full on atrocities and horrific like actions to for them to enjoy anything. So, if you do get taken by the Eldar, hope it's a young one who's like, stab you, and you're like, ow, whoa, that
Oh,
hurtsies.
whoa.
Um,
Whatever will I do?
why is you be so mean, as opposed to an Archon who's like, turn him inside out while he's still alive. You're like, dude, that's fucked.
Can you not do that, please?
That one, could I go to that line? That queue over there just stabs you. Like, that's not so bad. He's like, no, turn him into a rug. So yeah, very very often like Archons, and that's why the Archons have those Medusae, because they basically take the suffering of an entire battlefield and condense it into one thing, so that they can
Snack.
And that's yeah. Once we get to the real extremes, like the ones who are alive before Slanesh was birthed and the Eldar fell, that gets to the point where like they need an entire planet suffering, like when they go on their raids and stuff. And like thousands of slaves sacrificed, and
Bad time for anyone involved.
yeah, it's not amazing. And I think even then, at this point, even then, like sometimes that doesn't work, and they still like age and slowly become decrepit and all bleh. However, the Archons have some of the coolest shit. They have agonizers, shadow fields. An agonizer is like, it's essentially a whip that when it hits you, it like pumps pain into you.
Oh.
So it sends like an electric shock into you, which is like a mixture of toxins and barbs and like a bioelectrical signal that essentially cause so much pain that your nerves burn out.
I just feel like the Drukhari are pretty messed up. They're so mean. They're so harsh.
To give you an idea of how bad, like some of the more powerful agonizers work on vehicles.
What? But like it's
in the sense that it's such a strong electronic signal that it overloads vehicle systems. And they're like, yes, let's pump that into people. So
yeah.
They also have shadow fields, which are among the most. Wait, is it shadow fields? Shadow fields are interesting, but actually, I don't think they're as good as another. There's another type of field that they have that they can get. Yes, no, it is the shadow fields. So essentially, the shadow fields are like displacer fields that you sometimes get in 40k.
Yeah, I think so.
Essentially, there's a lot of like, it's like a personal field.
Yeah.
Like a force field. The shadow field creates this kind of like dark smoke and like that kind of goes around them. That is almost impossible to penetrate with any attack. So like if you fire a rocket at them and it explodes, it's very likely that it will do nothing. The only thing about the shadow field is that once you do penetrate it, it collapses and doesn't come back.
Right.
So the interesting thing about it is we're switching to tabletop quickly.
Okay.
The 40k tabletop is like D6s.
Yeah.
So like to give you an example, very often Terminator armor is a save on a 2+.
Okay.
So if your Terminator gets shot by a weapon, it's a 2+ to for the armor to like not be penetrated, then not to take a wound or get killed.
Yeah.
Very often there are modifiers. So if you're using like a las cannon, it will change it to like a 3+ or a 4+ or a 5+.
Yeah.
And that's how you get past like dangerous, more heavily armored and dangerous enemies. Is essentially just because they have a 2+ doesn't mean it stays a 2+. If you get some like heavily armed people, you can make them roll at a disadvantage essentially. So you're rolling 4+ on Terminators. If you make them roll 5 dice to save on a 5+, they're probably going to die.
Yeah.
There are two. Pardon me. My voice totally broke there. There are two. There are two different instances of saving throws that are 2+ and can't be modified. One is the Drukhari Shadow Field.
Oh.
So regardless of what you hit a Drukhari Archon with, if he has a Shadow Field, it is a 2+ save.
A tank.
And
it's still 2.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, the best thing to attack an Archon with, if they have a Shadow Field, is like a massive squad of bitch Imperial Guardsmen. Because it doesn't matter what you hit them with, you just need to hit them with enough that something gets through and breaks the Shadow Field.
Yeah.
If you use like your biggest, most powerful one hitter, it's so much worse because it's probably not going to get through. He's probably not going to roll that 1 because you're making him roll 1 every turn. If he has to roll 20 dice every turn, the likelihood is he's going to hit a 1 sooner or later.
Yeah.
And then that's going to break the shield and they may not, be able to follow up very well. But then you can bring in your one hitter, your bigger unit. More firepower. The only other thing that has an unmodified 2+ save is a Gretchen standard bearer.
Gretchen is the orc, right?
Yes, it is the goblin.
The overpowered, ridiculous orc that can't die.
No, he is a Gretchen, which is like the goblin version.
Okay.
He is called Makari.
Right.
And on the tabletop, he has an ability called Impossibly Lucky, which gives him an unmodified +2 saving throw at all times.
And I know how useful they could be.
The thing is, he's useless. Like he can't do anything.
He's just a standard bearer.
He's a standard bearer. Like he's just impossible to kill, basically.
They're very important, actually.
Yeah.
How else do you know where someone stood?
So yeah, that's just to give you an idea of how ridiculous the fucking Shadow Field is.
It is silly, isn't it?
It's I love a lot of some of the ships also. Drukhari void ships often have well, not often, but do have Shadow Fields as well, which can make their vessels like very hard to see. And like hides them so that they can go raiding. It's part of the reason how they tend to infiltrate and kind of fuck shit up. Ooh, Husk Blades. Husk Blades are fun. Does it not have a description, or do I have to go searching to? I swear I had a thing on the Husk Blade. Husk Blade is like a vampire sword.
Okay. Yeah, because a husk. Is that in fantasy or?
So a Husk Blade is a power weapon that looks like really old and kind of worn down. Like if water falls on it, like from rain or whatever, it literally just evaporates instantly.
Okay.
If you're like, say Drukhari Archon like tries to stab you with the sword and it like cuts your cheek, it'll shrivel your entire head and turn to dust.
Oh, that's not ideal, is it?
So so the husk blades literally drink the life force of people, or like the vitality of them.
Vampire blades.
Yeah, so vampire blade is kind of what I think of it as. There's electrified shard nets and shard nets. Have you seen Alien versus Predator?
Have I seen Alien versus Predator?
I know.
You know who I am.
I do. You remember they trap that dude in the net and it like starts closing on him?
Yep.
That's what a shard net is.
I love it.
The more
I'll have
you
12 of them.
The more you fight, the more it kind of like cuts you and
digs in, and then you.
And then, of course, because they're Drukhari, they electrify it as well.
I was thinking, is it not electrified?
Yeah, it's also electrified. You got a lot of just kind of like, you got chain flails. It's Bob chain.
I mean, what's wrong with that?
So it's essentially like, it's essentially just a barbed chain that, as they like fly around on their speeders, you know, and in the air, they just like fling those chains around, and they wrap around people and then like tear their flesh apart as they go past.
We had sort of parts of similar things in Chaos. Is I think probably why I know about them. Sorry, I'm on very intricate paintings. I keep talking into the magnifying glass and also not responding for a second.
Ugh. There's Electro Corrosive whips.
That sounds
it's a power weapon like soaked in venom.
That sounds fun.
Well, essentially, when it hits you, it like basically saps your will and kind of like takes away all your energy. So you're like, yeah, let's fight. Oh no, I can't move.
I'm just gonna have a nap right
slaves. Flesh gauntlets are what are they called? Homunculi weapon, I think.
Oh.
Where essentially like it's just a glove with syringes on the fingertips.
I love it.
And like a homunculi will like pierce you with one, and then your skeleton like bursts out of your skin.
Perfect.
And then you're just like giant muscle and skin and shattered bone.
Oh no. They have like such good weapons.
Yeah. There's the fusion pistols, also known as blast pistols, I believe, or dark blast pistols, which are essentially like in the tabletop and in the TTRPG tabletop roleplay stuff. The blast pistols are like, you're dead.
Yeah.
It's the best way I could describe them. They're really fucked up. They're like you know, melters. They're an Eldar version of that.
Okay.
Basically, they cause the molecules of the target to hypervibrate, generating so much heat that the target bursts into flame before liquefying and then evaporating.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's just cheating, really, isn't it?
Do we have anything else like that? I'm going through all of these, and there's like,
oh, this is messed up, and this is messed up.
They have a mind phase gauntlet, which basically it's like a neural controller that basically turns people into mind slaves.
Mindslave's like, but then why? That's no fun for them.
I mean, if you have like a rampaging beast or something, or someone frenzying or whatever, then it can be useful. And also, it means they stop fighting, so you can do whatever you like.
Yeah.
Razor flails, a couple of dual wield swords that are like interlocked blade connected by cable. So you can like swing out and like they separate and they like fly at the enemy in kind of like the cable extends and all the blades like separate. So they become like a massively like bladed whip.
Ooh.
And obviously if you try and parry it, they just like disconnect the blades and they turn into like a coiled whip. So yeah.
40k has some serious weapons.
Yeah.
In the tabletop and stuff, doesn't
it? There's the Shimeshi blades, which are essentially a dagger or a sword or like a hairpin, and at the core of them is lethal poison. And then the surface of the blade has a whole load of microscopic holes where the venom comes out of. It's essentially your goal isn't to kill someone, you just need to stab them in the hand, and then all the venom comes out of the holes and permeates into the blood and flesh.
You're nice and I talked whilst I was doing something intricate.
Oh, sorry.
Never again.
But essentially with all of those, like they can put poison in or venom, so it gets into the bloodstream, or they can put like plagues and stuff and it will just like spread across the person. So, yeah.
Slow acting plagues, so they can send it to the world. Like slow killing plagues. Would be good.
There's the stun claw. I don't want to talk about too much. They're basically grapples that are big chains with a like barbed grapple hooks. They can anchor into armor or not armor. So if you're flying around on like a hoverboard, you can just kind of like hook people as you go, and then they're jerked away.
Come with me if you want to die. Damn it, I got paint on it again. Oops. Oh well. The danger.
And then there's some there's like disintegrator cannons, eye bursts, haywire blasters, heat lance, hex rifle, implosion missile, liquefier gun, monoscythe missile, necrotoxin. Oh god, the necrotoxin missile is fucked up. It basically has toxins. It's a missile that when it explodes, it showers toxin everywhere, which then, because necrotoxin, essentially necrosizes all flesh and etc. So you essentially like rot away.
Oh yum. I mean it's slow and painful, so I just need to stop dropping this miniature, I swear to god. That's one way for them to appease Slaanesh.
Yeah. The Shredder is a really nasty one. It's essentially like the electrified net, except for it's monofilament.
Ooh.
Which means it's one cell thing.
Yeah.
And it's essentially a net that wraps around people and then obviously slices them apart as they struggle against it.
They're so icky.
Yeah.
They're so mean. Let's see if I can get this in focus again.
And then there's things that fire,
What's your least favorite?
I mean, I've probably I think the monofilament net is a nasty one.
Mm.
There's a whole load of, especially like the Hydra gauntlets, and like being turned into a pulsing mass of flesh and muscle is obviously something you don't particularly want to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all pretty rough, to be honest. I don't like. There are a lot of like chaos stories and tyrannid stories, and I think if you were to sit me down and be like, hey Sheepy, you have a choice of one like Xenos race that you never have to fight in 40k, like if you lived in 40k, I'd probably say Dark Eldar.
Yeah.
Like Tyranids are horrific, Chaos is horrific, but like Chaos kind of enjoys what it does, but they don't go like above and beyond to inflict torture and suffering on you. Not exactly. Like if you have a corn demon, it's just going to rip your head off. Which sounds horrific until you hear what the Dark Eldar do to you.
Yeah, when that's the preferred thing, you have to wonder like all the bad things are.
Yeah.
But we know now.
The only worry would be if like a Slaneshi thing got hold of you.
I was thinking
maybe
Slanesh probably not ideal either.
maybe Nurgle as well. Nurgle might inflict you with diseases and stuff. But even then, like I feel like the Dark Eldar have more invested in just torturing you down to a nub of nothing. Yeah, their weapons are pretty OP and crazy, and they're a lot of fun though. At the same time, like the Dark Eldar is like they're super edgy, which kind of makes me want to hate them. But they're so dedicated and badass in their edgery. I'm like, they kind of cool though. but like, okay, so here's a quote from an Archon, Archon Anas Vanix of the Cabal of the Sundered Eye. Listen to this.
Okay, I'm ready.
I am all your nightmares. I am the legends your forebears whispered of in fearful tones. Every terror you have never imagined comes from me. Look upon my majesty and weep at the terror I have wrought upon you and your kin. I am an artist, and dread is the color I splash across the canvas of your mind. That's some edgy shit right there.
So, like, if they weren't so dangerous, they would just be incessantly mocked.
Yes, I am comfortable saying that is super cringe. But when you hear what the Dark Eldar do and this Archon is probably going to do to people, you're like, you can kind of give it to them, because it's like, yeah, it's cringe and it's edge as fuck, but
I'm not going to argue with you. You can do what you want, buddy.
they follow through on it, so you can't be too.
Deep breath. All of this is so intricate. It is aggravating.
So, I think, and feel free if you want to hear different, but we could talk about Lilith Herasparax and as Drukhari Vect and maybe a few other characters and stuff. I feel like we could leave that for a content thing. Although technically the extra content stuff is we were going to be doing Space Marine chapters and stuff.
I like it when it's, I don't know, when it's relevant to like the thing.
Yeah. It's just we've got the homunculi we haven't really talked about too much. We've got a few characters that we can dip into.
Yeah.
We don't really have the time to get into it all, I don't think, with what's left on the show.
No.
So okay, so we've got the kind of Cabal, the Cabalite warriors, the homunculi, or the Lilith and Vek stuff. Like, where do you want to go with this? Because we've got a bit of time left.
I do want to hear about Lilith and Vect.
All right. If you had a choice, okay, tell you what, this will be fun. I'll very quickly read out the quotes for both of them, and you can choose which one you'd like to hear, and we'll see how much time we end up with. So a quote from Asdrubal Vect. Death is my meat, terror my wine. What a dick.
Is that in the quote?
Yeah, that's literally his quote. And then Lilith Sparks is someone like recollecting one of her fights. Never had so much alien blood drenched the arena. How could this be followed? The crowd cried out for more. There could be no end to the spectacle now. Then Lilith herself strode into the arena. The crowd hushed at the very sight of her beauty and elegance, her flesh bared as if to taunt the blade to draw her blood, her hair loose as if to tempt her adversary to grip it and strike the death blow. This was the way she liked to perform, so calm, so confident, so cold. The crowd grasped as she brandished her chosen weapons, a flashing of ice-cold silver, the kiss of death. Then the aliens were released into the ring. Not one, not two, but 10 assailants at once. Lilith danced with them, gifting each a single choice wound. The crowd roared their approval. The entertainment would last long into the bloody evening. Drukhari, Lord Sussuruk's recollections of Lilith, Mistress of Death. That's actually her title.
See, I want to hear about her, but we have already touched on Vect, so I think let's talk about Vect.
Lilith, kind of badass.
Yeah, it sounds super badass.
So, Asdrubal Vect was actually not born as a high noble. He was born low class, and he was sold into slavery. He was around when the Aeldari fell, the birth of Slaanesh. And he was never one of the highborn or trueborn, or he may have been trueborn because he was born like kind of late 29th millennium maybe. So it's possible he was trueborn. Like a lot of Dark Eldar are kind of like vat grown or test tube babies basically.
Oh, okay.
And the trueborn Drukhari tend to take the top spots.
Yeah.
And those are the ones who are naturally born through biology.
Really? Is that
how it's how it happens, it's true. So he essentially had to climb up from the belly, from the very bottom of the Drukhari society and survive it.
Yeah.
The fact that he got so high and the fact that he survived so well kind of has a bit of a, it implies of how backstabby and cunning and, how clever and smart he was. While he was still like a slave and an underling, essentially, he's like, one day, he's like looking up at Komara. He's like, one day, I'm going to rule all of this. So, very often, as he was rising up in Drukhari society, anyone who got on his bad side or anyone who, they decided, hey, I'm going to get in this kid's way, they had a tendency to die or disappear.
Oh, mysterious.
But it was never him who did it.
Yeah.
a lot of the time, it was some other like faction or enemy that got rid of them.
Well, I mean, obviously we know about him later with the
Yeah.
ship, so I mean, yeah.
And the thing is, a lot of the time, they had like the people who decided to, try and kill him or kidnap him or, like severely bring him down a peg. They only had just decided to do it by the time they were dead or missing. So, they'd be like, you know what, actually, that Vect guy has been rising up quite quickly. Maybe I should. And then he's just dead. So, like, Vect had he wasn't just really good at getting rid of his enemies. He was really good at figuring out who was going to be his enemy soon.
Yeah.
And getting rid of them before they even realized they wanted to destroy him. Eventually, he got to the position where he founded his own cabal, the Cabal of the Black Heart. And his was they were the first to refer to themselves as Dark Eldar, or, Drukhari.
Okay.
Because the Black Heart was a, nothing cabal, no one gave a shit about it. He essentially was always overlooked, which meant that he could undercut some of the other cabals who no one cared about and slowly grow his power base, because everyone's all the powerful people in Commorragh, or all the powerful Drukhari Archons are who cares about that?
Shouldn't underestimate people. That is the danger.
He did at one point start he didn't start. He kind of got involved in a civil war between the nobility.
All right. No big deal.
The nobility did win, and Vex kind of helped a little bit, but by this point, some of the more prominent Archons were we're not. Kind of like a bit of a Caesar thing. He'd done enough and he'd been noticed enough where they're like, okay, at this point, we're not going to make you, praetor. We're not going to let you be, we're not going to let you be a senator. You can just sit back and, as Commorragh grew and grew and grew, Vect essentially slowly built his power base.
Yeah.
He did a lot more raiding than
and the comfy old lords.
Yeah, he went out into rail space a lot more. He got a lot more slaves. Sorry, my.
It's okay. You all right?
Yeah. Just little bit of water went down the wrong way. He did a lot of raiding, and he. Oh.
It's fine.
Is it?
Yeah. You know what? It's fine. I'm just gonna carry on. So,
Your voice broke there.
It's the super glue. Just gave up its life, so.
Okay. You can glue it back, right?
Yeah, it's easy enough.
Okay. That wasn't like a proper break.
No, this is the connection where the super glue was anyway, so I'll just need to clean the super glue off and redo it.
Okay, cool. So yeah, by the time he had kind of he was the Archon, and the Cabal of Blackheart was enough of a force that obviously if the Archons get together and they decide someone's a threat and they destroy them, like his Cabal can still be destroyed, but usually it's just one like Archon against another being like, yo, fuck this dude. And he was smart enough, and he was kind of, he would more often than not come out on top, and when he didn't come out on top, he'd come out like mostly unscathed.
Yeah.
And his Cabal at the same time. So he decided to basically push his influence. And at that point, that's when 3 different like Cabals were like, nah, man, like we're not letting you do this. Which is, interestingly, around about the time that the Salamanders and a few other Space Marine factions turned up. And you know the story of that.
Yes.
Now, interestingly, and strangely, because to be honest, the Space Marines did a lot of damage, but at the same time, they didn't hit the Cabals directly. But those Cabals that were opposing him during the chaos of the fight still took a lot of damage. And I think all of their leaders died in combat.
Oh, how mysterious.
Inverted commas in combat, because I think a lot of them weren't actually directly in combat, so it's weird that they got killed in combat. Seeing as these are like the old guard of the Drukhari, or even the Aeldari, technically speaking, I guess. It wasn't just Vek who rose, but some of the other younger Cabals replaced those ones destroyed as powers.
Yeah.
Which essentially means like they kind of owed him a little bit as well. It's the kind of secret where it's like
everyone knows how it went down, but
everyone knows how it went down, but no one says it, type thing.
Yeah.
I
can't believe I just did that to the model.
It's cool. So
a lot of the Cabals now are like buddy.
Yeah, and Vector's kind of like taken with his Cabal, has essentially taken prominence in the Comorra kind of power base. And obviously this is when the Salamanders have shown up, and there's the specific Archon who's like, that's mine, and he was the Archon of one of the Cabals that like opposed him. So then the Space Marines kind of buggered off and
went home.
Yeah. I'm in my notes, and also in the tab, and it's like it's so funny because I got to the point where it's like, yeah, so those houses died, and then it goes into the description of the battle in detail, and I'm like, Jesus, there's so much of this battle that we've already been through. So there we go. So once Vect had kind of gotten rid of the people in his way,
yeah,
that's when he really started to rise. And the thing that he really pushed was essentially a meritocracy. Instead of these are noble houses and these are nobles, therefore they should be at the top. It's like anyone who can rise to power through guile and subtlety and being clever, they should be in charge. So slowly the Eldar, the original Aeldari, who were kind of, you know, in Commorragh, and they slowly turned into the Dark Eldar through all this shit. They were slowly pushed out as more deserving, inverted commas,
Yeah, deserving.
forces kind of came forward. And because Vex is obviously, inverted commas, much, much more deserving because he was a crafty little bastard, he kind of slowly took over and eventually became the supreme leader.
He knew exactly what he was doing the whole time.
Yeah. So, at one point, and like this is the thing is, even if you're at the top, that doesn't mean you stop being a paranoid, schemy bastard.
Yeah, and how long are you going to be there for?
Like one time, he tricked another Archon into like he basically offered him a bribe.
Mm-hmm.
And he was basically like, "Hey, what's up, fellow Archon? I really need your help with this thing." And the Archon's like, "No, I don't. I'm not going to help you with that." And he's like, "Look, here is a casket filled with, you know, artifacts and like the most precious things you can think of. It's like a massive, just a massive chest filled with that shit." And he sent it over to him as a bribe, and he was like, I really need your help with this. Here is a token of my a token of my respect, and hopefully this will convince you. And the dude's like, "Oh, okay, so he's trying to bribe me. So let's see how much this shit is worth, and then I'll say yes or no." And he opened up the chest, and the black hole that was inside it was unleashed and sucked in his entire realm.
Well, that's what you get. They're saying no.
Yeah, well, the thing is Vex didn't even need his help. He just wanted to get rid of that dude. But he came to him as a supplicant, and the guy was so like full of himself. He was like, her.
Arrogance strikes again. We've seen this a few times in 40k. Have we not?
He also like hunted down all of the hidden portals and webways that connected all of the like spires and everything in Commorragh, and like put guards on them, and you know, had them kind of like policed. He pretty much united the entirety of Commorragh underneath himself.
It would be good if they weren't, you know, Drukhari.
Yeah. So it's essentially he turned Commorragh from essentially like dukedoms, barondoms, who all kind of like work together if they have to, but don't really, into one big like state, all under him.
Yeah.
Eventually, there was like one Archon who was left, who was like, he called himself the Emperor of Shardom, which was his realm. And he was like, "I'm better than Vex." And Vex is like, "I'm gonna stab you."
Yeah, which I'm not even remotely surprised by.
Yeah. So Vex is like, "I'm gonna stab you," and he made some like moves to look threatening, so that
My brain's like Charlemagne.
the Archon of Shardom was like, okay, so he gathered his forces. He's like super rich, super influential, like really strong military forces, and he gathers them around to repel an attack by Vex, because Vex like, "Yo, I'm gonna stab you." 3 days later, a warp rift opens above his domain.
Yep.
And an on-fire Imperial battleship flew through the warp rift. Its warp drive detonated and destroyed his palace and fortress. And then, because it's a warp rift, demons flowed out and invaded the entire realm and destroyed everything.
That's what you. God, he's so extra.
In a couple of weeks, the entire place was empty and dead. And Vect was like, ha.
He's so like.
I know. Yeah.
God.
He's yeah. It's like, and even the Dark Eldar, who are super paranoid and kind of like schemy and like yes. You know, he tricks them. He's like, I'm gonna stab you, and the guy's like, okay, so he's gonna attack me, and it's like, no, he's gonna open a fucking warp rift and drop a fucking giant ship on your head.
Who expects that though? Really? Like,
Yeah,
it's not reasonable to expect that.
So he keeps encouraging raids out into real space. Basically, he's not happy to just attack his own people and kill slaves and stuff that he gets. He wants to get out there and like torture people out in real space and all that type of thing. There's been some talk of like him losing his power a little bit and not being able to
command as well.
Yeah, like the thing is like there's now been a few thousand years of him in power, and all of the other Archons have never been able to like outwit him or defeat him, and those who've tried are now not alive. But the interesting thing is, when the Great Rift showed up, you know, the whole
Slaaneshi one.
No, the more recent one, the giant like scar in the galaxy now,
right,
that just recently happened. When that happened, Vect had a problem in the Ynnari, because you need like start stirring, and the Ynnari are like, yo, you don't need to torture people, you don't need to use spirit stones, like Ynnari will save your soul and keep it away from Slaanesh. Which meant that a lot of Dark Eldar are like, yo, this is kind like, you know, this is appealing.
We've been torturing for a bit of a long time. I'm tired. Like, maybe we can
Yeah.
Okay.
The problem is Yvraine, who's the leader of the Ynnari, is very influential even within the Dark Eldar. So Vector's trying to like eliminate or kill or reduce in power Yvraine without being seen to do so, because it would kind of
everyone would be so pissed.
Yeah. And the other problem is Yvraine like kind of had her transformation or whatever in an arena in Comorar. So yeah.
But why does like I don't know what that means.
Okay, so there are like I think Yvraine was this is a Ynnari thing. I haven't looked into it, or the Ynnari. I'm pretty sure Yvraine was either an Eldar prisoner or a Drukhari, like, who was forced to fight in the arena.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of arena fighting in the Drukhari and Comorar. And I think she essentially got killed in the arena and then came back to life because of Ynid as like the high priestess of Ynid, the death god.
Yeah.
And then like whooped everyone's asses and is like, follow me, I'm awesome.
Oh.
also the giant scar in reality that's happened has allowed demons to enter Komorrah. So now Komorrah has a demon problem.
Well, also, someone has let them in a couple of times,
Yeah.
but let's not blame him for anything, shall we?
He kind of like he managed to deal with it okay, I guess. He like cut off parts of Komorrah and like they can kind of like they're holding them off fine and they're kind of, you know, but a lot of Drukhari died and there was a lot of fighting. And obviously that affected his standing a little bit.
Yeah, people won't have confidence.
So there was a point when he was trying to deal with when he was distracted by Yvraine and the Ynnari, that Komorrah seemed to be fairly weak, especially Vek himself. And there was a Drukhari called Marquis Vulcere, who basically was like, yo, there's some people wanting to there's some of the cabals joined the Ynnari and was gathering recruits, and there were some other people like thinking about betraying him or trying to usurp him. And essentially, because Yvraine and the Ynnari had accepted some enemies of Vect, it's like, yo, you can attack the Ynnari, but you're actually just attacking Dark Eldar. You know, you're attacking our own people, like our enemies.
Yeah.
You're not directly attacking the Ynnari, and then if they get pissed off and they're like, hey, yo, then you can attack them too. He was in a difficult position because if he, you know, treats Yvraine or the Ynnari as a threat, then he has to acknowledge that they're a threat type thing.
Yeah.
So he's been trying to basically be like, oh, they're not worth my time. They're super weak. No one go join them, please.
Please.
So he sent a big force to go and like fuck them up.
Such a wuss.
Yeah, you know. And he attacked them, and he like there's a big fight. Loads of Drukhari died, and you know, there's a big fight. A lot of Cabalites and witches and Drukhari foot soldiers had headed over to the Ynnari.
Yeah.
And the Cabal who had gone and joined them, they were fairly, what's the way to say it? They were fairly zealous. So even the Drukhari, who were like, you know, I find Drukhari, they kind of found themselves outmatched a little bit because the new converts to Ynnari were like proper fighting for something they believed in.
Yeah.
They're outnumbered, but they're also like, you know, willing to die for their shit.
Yeah.
So that Marquis I was talking about, he was leading the attack under Vec's orders. While his forces are fighting, he basically infiltrates with some of his bodyguards, and burst into the Archon's, you know, special room and they killed the Archon, and then like attacked the Ynnari from behind, which basically, yeah,
shame.
But this kind of thing happened a fair few times where, you know, some Drukhari cabal or forces decided to join Yanid, or like devote themselves to Yanid, and then suddenly they're like getting attacked and trying, the Vex forces is basically like, let's destroy the fuck out of them.
Yeah,
But
if I can't have the power, no one can.
yeah, but the problem for this for Vect is he suddenly has a almost civil war on his hands because it keeps happening, and the message of Yanid keeps spreading, and it's appealing to Eldar, it's appealing to any of the Eldari, regardless of the faction they are now.
Yeah, because if there's a way to break free of it, then why would they not choose that?
So, Vect essentially like encourages this almost, where he's like, yeah, go hunt down the followers, go fuck each other up, and Drukhari don't need a reason to want to kill each other, they just need an excuse.
Yeah.
So there's a whole load of fighting that breaks out, loads of factions and sub-factions and, individuals who just want to kill another Drukhari motherfucker. They all start kind of fighting each other, and there's all over Commorragh, there's kind of skirmishes and assassinations and all of this type of thing.
It's making a right pig's ear of it.
Yeah, Vex offers massive rewards and promotions, and there's like even like Xenos mercenaries, like the Snakies, the Sslyth, and everything. They're like running around trying to find Yvraine.
Yeah. But she could be the answer. We don't know.
One of them who like headed out trying to find Yvraine was Drazar. I think we talked about him a little bit. He's an incubi who is very possibly like the Phoenix Lord of the Striking Scorpions.
Oh.
And now he's like an incubi, and he's like super powerful. So he followed Yvraine to the Craftworld Samhain. That's Samhain. And like very almost killed her, except for he was stopped by another Phoenix Lord, Jane Zar, who is the Phoenix Lord of the Howling Banshees. Howling Banshees always fun. It's essentially there's quite a lot of fighting, and like the Yanari, the Craftworld Aeldar, the Asuryani, and the Drukhari all fighting each other. They're going to different places in ancient ruins of the Eldar Empire, and beyond that, Jane Zar couldn't really beat Drazar. Just how it goes.
How it be sometimes.
Yeah. But it also, like, Drazar never managed to get Yvraine.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find the bit. There's one other bit that I want to talk about, which I know is coming up here somewhere. Yes, here we go. The Assassination of Vek.
What?
So
spoilers.
while Commorragh is under attack by the demons, Vek sent out all of his like bodyguards, his incubi, to go and help. That's when all of these assassinations started happening, and the civil war is happening. And right when it was basically like absolute anarchy, Vect was cut down by random assassins who no one knows who was ordered to kill him.
Do I feel bad for him?
And so this is something we haven't talked about. Very often, the Dark Eldar will like cut off a finger and put it in like a jar.
Okay.
And give it to like a homunculi who can use torture and stuff to regrow them from those things.
Oh.
So
super.
Yeah. Essentially, the homunculi can regrow a Drukhari through like torture and that type of thing. Unfortunately, at the same time as Vect was assassinated, every single essence, contained essence of him, was destroyed at the same time. So he couldn't be regrown.
Unfortunately, it's not unfortunate.
Strategic. As soon as the news was sent out that Vect was assassinated, everyone stopped fighting.
Yeah.
Not because everyone was like, "Ooh, maybe we can take power." It literally every single Archon is like, "Shit, if Vect can get killed, then we might be in trouble." So they essentially stopped fighting because they're worried that if they carried on, they'd be vulnerable. So they have a funeral for Vect. Some Harlequins turn up, and there's a witch cult around as well. Witch cult of the Cursed Blade, the Mask of the Veiled Path for the Harlequins. And people are like, "Yo, it might have been this witch cult that tried to kill him." Some people thought there was a couple of other cabals. There was one specific cabal led by an Archon who, they left Comarog and left the webway. Or, well, they kind of went into the webway, but it was kind of like a shattered part of the webway, and they're like, "We're gonna stay over here for a while," and then Vec dies, so it's like,
mysterious.
And everyone who was loyal to Vect and everyone who hated him and just wanted to piss on his ashes turned up to,
do so.
It was basically a funeral to be like, "Yo, the king is dead. Now we're all gonna fight over his shit."
Now what do we do?
So what happened was as the kind of celebrations and everything starts to amp up, and the arena is everyone's kind of celebrating or mourning or happy or crying. Then the arena's just fucking pumped, filled with airborne hallucinogens. And the Harlequins who turned up to the wake just went nuts and started murdering all the Archons.
Oh.
And the witches who they thought the witch cult who had come in attendance, who they thought might have killed Vect, joins in as well. As well as the homunculi who had turned up. And all of the warriors of the Cabal of the Black Heart, which is Vect's Cabal.
Vect's Cabal, yeah.
And all of the Archons who turned up were fucking murdered and killed and destroyed. And as they're all being murdered, Asdrubel Vect rises from the center of the arena, perfectly fine and alive.
Why? How? What?
And he delivers this speech. "Some of you thought me dead. Some of you even willed it. And you gathered here in the Nexus to offer feigned respect. But now you see plainly that my will cannot be undone. My favor cannot be regained, and my wrath cannot be tempered. Whether you are loyal or a traitor, you will be slaughtered, for it is only right that my ascension be celebrated with sacrifice. And if I deign to have you resurrected, know that you will serve me by your deeds or by your suffering. And he fucking destroyed all of the Archons of the Cabals. He had them ripped apart. A lot of his enemies he had remade into like twisted flesh monstrosities.
God.
And like deployed them in battle. And then he was like, fuck you all, I'm a god.
He's just declared himself a god.
I mean, he literally has no one left who would oppose him.
Yeah.
Like he it's very, very possible that he knew that an assassination was coming and allowed it to happen to set this up.
Yeah.
Or he actually made it happen himself.
That's what I thought. As soon as like, I mean, I'm shooketh that he's just appeared, but
yeah.
I don't know. I am surprised, but I'm also like, but I can see it happening. I can see him planning that.
Yeah.
My God, what like an extra bee though. He's great. What
but
fun.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't exactly say he's a god.
A god, but like there's none who oppose me, blah blah blah.
He declared himself a dark muse, and a dark muse is essentially one step before a god. Essentially they'd be the equivalent of like a saint.
Yeah.
They are essentially worshipped though, so
he can say what he wants, I think, at that point.
Yeah. And like you kind of have to give it to him a little bit, because fucking hell,
God, he's such a drama queen.
He is such a drama queen, but yeah, no, it's
yeah, I kind of. I think he's
kind of like him.
Yeah, I don't want to though, but like I kind of do.
No. He's kind of cool, and so the Drukhari, you know, like what?
They're like so metal.
There's a lot of stuff in 40k where you're like, wow, that's fucked up. At the same time, you're like, wow, that's really cool.
Pretty cool though.
I think it's appropriate that we end with Asdrubale Vek, because he's very extra, and it's a nice way to like finish off the Drukhari talk.
I think that's fine too.
We didn't manage to get into a few things, but I think we covered all the kind of fun, interesting stuff.
Okay, I'll show the model that we got up to at this point anyway. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more. It's probably easier.
That's really cool.
So we had a little, murder, but that's okay. As it always does, as soon as you start adding highlights and lowlights, it comes together. Excuse the lighting. I'll just fix that. And I've just been adding the highlights. I've still got quite a lot left to do, honestly, but the highlighting on the armor has definitely helped a decent amount. And when I add the contrast, that's gonna, add a bit of depth. And I still have like lots of highlights and lowlights and all to join and to fix it. So that's gonna be fun for me. But in terms of the episode, thank you so much for those of you who watched all of it so far. I really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed the show and the episodes for the Drukhari. Really appreciate all the support from Patreon as well. Those of you that helped to make this happen. So if you want to check out Patreon and support the show, you can go to patreon.com/40,000 layers. There is a link in the description. And as always, a big thank you to Sheepy.
Yeah.
Sheepy.
But before we probably outro.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do the every $25 on the Patreon, we do a Space Marine chapter-y thingy episode thing, yeah?
Yeah.
We've done one.
Yeah.
But our Patreon has already hit $50 a month.
Yeah.
Should we finish off this painting and do another chapter in Primarch?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I don't know. Do you want to decide which one we do, or should I just pick one at random? Or...
Salamanders.
Salamanders?
Yeah, because I can paint it with this. They appeared in they appeared and messed stuff up, and it was fun.
They did. The Salamanders are interesting. Yeah, their Primarch's Vulcan, who's also really interesting.
I mean, if you don't want to do Salamanders, you should have given me the option, really, should you?
Well, no. I'm happy to do the Salamanders. So.
Okay, Salamanders to paint with Sslyth, because it's not finished.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of the Patreon, we hit 50. Which means we'll do this, the Salamanders and Vulcan, the Primarch, and talk about all of that in a podcasty style episode, along with footage of Tash finishing off the...
Yeah, sped up footage of Tash painting.
It's actually really interesting to do the podcasty style episodes because you don't have to concentrate on painting, so we can just kind of chat.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in that, soon the Thousand Suns and Magnus will be out.
Mm-hmm.
And soon after that, the Sslyth being painted and us talking about the Salamanders and stuff will also be out. We're on $53, so 75 is the next goal. Ooh. And there'll be another one and more stuff.
There is also all the content you guys can already check out on Patreon, including a podcast style where we did a recap of the Necrons and the Eldar. We've yet to do a Chaos one. But that'll be fun, and you can vote on the poll for December. Wow, because November's topic is going to be orcs, so you can vote on December between the Tau, the Emperor, and the Tyranids. So make sure to vote, and if you're a patron, make sure to vote and let us know what you would like to see. But I think that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching. And we'll see you next time.
Oh, yeah.